square? Is the camera square?
Yeah. What do you mean square? I mean, it's like a fucking rectangle.
No, I know, but like squared like on us.
Oh, yeah. It should be straight. We both should be in there pretty good. I could probably bring it down a little bit. You want me to tilt it down a little?
Yeah, it's like...
Yeah, turn it to the left. There it is.
God damn it, it's just...
That fucking stand sucks.
It'll work. All right, that's it.
That's it. All right, let's pour a shot here and we get rolling. Right.
Cheers, man.
Cheers, my man. Take motherfucking one.
Oh, God. That's rough stuff. All right, guys, welcome to the show. I'm Alex Bromley. I'm the owner of Empire Barbell in Redlands, California. We have a strongman gym. We have some power lifters, arm wrestlers, a lot of strength athletes here. And I've been in the field of strongman for about 12 years, give or take. This is my man, Tony Russell.
Right. I've been training for over 10 years. Honestly, about 14. Don't like to say that, but with how I look and shit. But yeah, been training for 14 years. I enjoy training more than I do competing, but my competition background is competitive bodybuilding, and I've been doing that for a number of years myself. So that's pretty much where we're at. I'm going to give you some opinions and insight today on a few topics.
So we got the Social Lube here, trying to get a sponsorship, either Jameson or Bang, one or the other. And I got my 14 mixers. How you feeling so far? You've had a few.
Yeah, I'm all right. I feel great. Did some training today, and now we're cooling off.
Yeah, we had the strongman crew in today, doing a little bit of Nats prep. We had some knuckleheads over here doing some stone loading, trying not to kill themselves.
Yeah.
So, be sure to follow us. Tony's Testimony Training. He's got a killer website if you get a chance to check it out. A lot of motivation.
Non-stop motivation. Whatever you're pursuing, whatever you want to do, I'm going to hold you accountable to getting there. No cliches, no pats on the back. I'm going to keep it real. It's real old school, real, hey, I'm going to call you out. Just like I would expect anybody to call me out to push me to get to where I want to go. So yeah, that's pretty much what the website's about.
A lot of free information, right?
Absolutely.
You got a ton of free templates, testimonytraining.com. You've been doing a lot of speeches recently with high school kids, with athletes. Feedback's been amazing. We're planning, hopefully, the next couple months to do kind of a grand opening here. We're definitely going to have a speaking engagement with him. Yeah, if you get a chance to check it out, it's amazing stuff. And then my page / the gym's page, Empire_Barbell. You're mainly going to see deadlift videos of me. I try to throw in members every now and then, but I get a little narcissistic sometimes. But that'll take you to wherever you need to go to get information about what we're doing over here. So to kick it off, we did a little background already about where we came from. So you said you've been training for 14 years.
Yeah, man.
Where did you start lifting?
In my mother's garage. Man, I started lifting. I was fascinated by bodybuilding at a very young age. I don't want to get too much into my childhood history, but it was very active. It was very militant, and fitness and discipline and structure was pretty much the base of my upbringing. So it was more of what we did rather than something that I ended up finding. It was more of a cultural thing for me. But I remember, how we used to stay up late. People would watch cartoons and shit or infomercials. You just was a kid, you didn't want to go to bed. But there was a fitness channel, and it was Kevin Levrone and Sean Ray, and they would wear spandex, and they were working with this machine, and I was so fascinated by the way they looked. I had to be like 4 or 5 years old, and I was watching that, and ever since then, man, I wanted to look like those guys.
I remember that. What was that, like late 80s bodybuilding?
Yo,
where it
dude.
was like the neon
Yeah,
spandex?
yeah, man, it was nuts, and
Like
I
they were about
watched
to go into,
that.
like, gay powerlifting meet.
I watched that shit every night, man. It was like fucking midnight or whatever. It would come on, and I would just watch it. And man, yeah, I literally wanted my arms and everything to look like that. And the first chance I got to lift anything, I did. You know.
It's safe to say your father had a pretty strong influence on your physical background.
Absolutely, he was crazy. He would wake us up at man, dude. I'd be first grade, waking up at 5 in the morning to go on runs and then come back home, and he had a weight set up in the garage, and we'd be working out there. My sisters were doing power cleans and shit when they were like in 3rd grade. So it was something that we did. It was a chore. Even summertime, you know, when he'd be at work, our chores were, 30 minutes on the treadmill, followed by so many sit-ups, so many push-ups, and then chores around the house. And by the time we were done, he'd be back home from work. So it was, it's pretty much what I did. If I don't train or I don't work out, then I'm not being who I am.
I always tell people a lot about motivation. And I mean, this coincides, it's nothing new. This is something I've read over and over, but it's something I've experienced a lot in everyday life. That a lot of success, a lot of being good at what you do, doesn't have anything to do with being motivated to do it. It's a habit. So you doing that as a kid, it's the same way a kid doesn't want to brush their teeth, but if they're expected to do it 3 times a day, they're going to do it. And as an adult, you don't think twice about it. In fact, you'd feel weird if you didn't do it. So you built that habit, right? That foundation where this is a part of who you are. It's part of your daily routine.
Yeah, and it was cool, man, because as I got older, my dad started letting me go to the gym with him. Because when I was young, him and his boys used to train in the garage, and I literally would watch them train. Like, I was just fascinated. It was cool. And they would scream and yell at each other, and they were like old school. And I was like, man, I wish I could do that. And as I got older, like my high school days, he'd let me go to the gym with him. And the first time, okay, our relationship, my father and our relationship was, kind of rocky. But the first time, man, I got a high five from my dad was at 24 Hour Fitness down Riverside. It was an old school 24. And we were working on this, the hammer strength bench press. And I finished the set, and he pushed me to do more reps, and I did them. And I got off, man, and he gave me a high five, and I felt like I fucking made it in the world.
What did that feel like?
Oh my God!
I felt like you graduated college.
Oh man, I felt like I made it in the world.
You're a man now.
I'm a man. Like,
your keys.
He didn't have to tell me he was proud of me. Nothing like that. High five after that meant the most to me because he knew I pushed myself, and I knew he did, and he respected it, and he was proud of me. And that's why I love the gym, man. From that day forward, I've lived a lonely life. And the only time my father and I, would embrace and come together, he's not a mushy guy, I'm not a mushy guy, but when we would train together, that was like our time together. So that's how we kind of express love for each other. So when I, going off to the military, being by myself, I always had the gym to remind me of, the love that I had back at home. And so that's why training is more of a passion for me than how it is for everybody else. Oh, I want that trophy, or I want to look that way. It's just who I am. So yeah, that's what you're going to get from me. A lot of passion, a lot of realness, and I'm gonna pull out everything in you to make sure that you're training for yourself and not for something else.
I have the exact opposite background because when I was a kid, I had a brother. I only have one older brother who's much older than me. And he was a handful, man, like ADHD plus. So when I came around, I was so quiet and calm that my parents actually had me tested to see if I was deaf.
Oh, shit.
Because I did not react to anything. I was good by myself. I didn't have a problem with anything. I was very easy. So I remember my parents just, if I had a coloring book and I was being quiet in the corner, like, I was good. So I got rewarded for kind of being quiet and keep it by myself. So of course I took the books. I did good in school. Didn't have a ton of friends, but it was mainly just do my own thing, watch my cartoons, don't make a fuss, and that's what I got rewarded for. So I remember getting into high school, and I was always kind of a fat kid, you know. I was a little doughy. My mom likes to tell the story where one of my first words was, I think I was like 2 or something. We were going through a Carl's Jr. drive-thru, and they were ordering food, and out of the back seat I yelled, "Chocolate cake." that says a lot about who I was as a kid. So anyways, I get into high school, and having no physical background whatsoever, I had this itch to do something more. And I saw the kids on the football team, and I saw that they were social. I saw that they were engaged in physical activity. I'd always wanted to look better and be more comfortable in my own skin, and I never was. I had a very inactive life. I was not a good athlete, still not a good athlete. But out of nowhere, I got this itch, and I joined the football team. And I'm talking, I was a little younger than the other kids. I was 13 my sophomore year. And I remember going into JV football practice, and I had to read The Idiot's Guide to Football to know what position I was supposed to go out for and what that position did. I had no idea how to play the game, what I was doing. Scaredest I've ever been. And that reinforces, you know, a lot of the success you have in your life is putting yourself in uncomfortable situations.
What position they have you in?
I literally found a kid that I talked to the first day that was like my buddy for the day or whatever, and I just followed him.
Nice.
And he was about 120 pounds, 5'4", and he went out to be a receiver. So I'm like, I'm gonna follow him. And it turned out that I couldn't run and I couldn't catch. So a year later, I ended up being a lineman because I figured it would be an easier time about it. It was not. And really the main thing that I saw, the main thing I connected was as I got stronger, I loved working out because that was the thing I could just mechanically, predictably see. If I do this, I will be better the next time I come in. And especially when you're young, it comes so quick. And that was heroin to me. Every time I came in, I wanted to do something better. I saw the other kids benching 225 for reps. My first time trying it, I missed 155, you know, sophomore year when that was the bench weight that they would test us with. I zeroed it, you know, collapsed my chest. And every time I came in, I just wanted to clean as much as I could, bench as much as I could, squat as much as I could. And as I started to get kind of strong, even though I didn't know what the fuck I was doing, I actually got a little better on the field to where, you know, people didn't disregard me quite as much as they did. So that's really what I took to. And that was probably the best thing I've ever done in my life. That one little leap I did. I had no idea what I was doing. I felt like I was wasting everybody's time. But that made me social. That made me uncomfortable. That's where I learned how to work hard. That's where I learned how good it felt when, you know, we were doing, I remember the end of one speed camp we did. The whole thing concluded at the end of summer with 50 40-yard dashes with 10 seconds in between. And they had spent all this time building us up to that feat. And I will never forget the feeling of watching the starting quarterback drop out halfway through, puking his fucking guts out. And I made it there to the end. Like, I was not the best athlete on the field, but I realized how much ground you can make up if you just don't quit.
Hell yeah.
So I didn't have any of this ingrained. This is something I had to seek out on my own. I always felt like something was missing. And when I found it, I was like, yes, here we go, we have something. So I just stuck my nose in it. In every book that I could, every seminar I could go to, every person I could talk to, and I just learned and learned and learned. And I'm still learning. I mean, I've been at it almost 20 years, and there's still things I learned, still
and you
things
know,
I implement.
I like the fact that he said he's still learning, because this is one of the wisest brothers that I've ever had the opportunity to come across. And there was a time in my training career where I kind of gave up training. Then I found this gym, and I found so much wisdom with this guy. But the fact of the matter is how long he's been in the game, you know, and myself as well, but we're still willing to be a student. And I think that's what makes the best athletes the best athletes. And today, so many people want to be that guy or that guru, and literally has only been in the game for like a few months or a year, or has only done one show, one diet, one prep, and they feel like they know everything. And when the guys that's been in it for time and time and time, they're still digging for more information, You know, okay, I'm squatting 500 pounds. I need to get to 6. I need to get to 7. You know, the numbers are endless. I need more. I need more. How can I get stronger? And that's what I like about him. And a lot of other guys that fall under, you know, our, I'd say, timeline of training. And one thing that kind of irritates me today, or that's not irritating but annoying and sad, is that, you know, there's a lot of people that, you know, if they did take a step back and say, you know, how can I be better? How can I learn? And instead of just trying to look like that person, man, you guys would go so far. And I like that, you know, constantly learning.
Well, that's a big thing, and that goes to the root of science. I mean, all of this stuff, it's a science in an art form, right? Because you're always accounting for things you can't account for. And it's a big no-no to think that you found it.
Right.
That's probably the worst thing you can do, is get to the point where you think, you're like, oh, I got it. Like, I figured that out. Because just as soon as you think you figured something out, you're going to find a case where it doesn't quite fit that way, where there's an exception to the rule, where you need a little more information that you haven't come across yet. The best people, the best coaches are going to be people that have just worked with thousands of different types of people, because they're going to understand the underlying principles that are important, and then they're going to know how to adapt that based on the individual's needs. But I mean, even in any scientific discipline, when you're writing papers in lab, you spend more time trying to figure out your sources of error than you spend actually writing about what the experiment was.
Right.
If you're not your own worst critic, if you're not constantly picking apart what could I have misunderstood, or what could I have misrepresented in this study, you know, correlation and causation are not the same thing.
I like that, man. You have to be your worst critic. You have to. If you ever, you know, and it's funny now, and confidence is cool. I'm all about people's confidence, and I'm all about people's self-esteem. But the thing is, in the sport that I compete in, you know, confidence kills you. If you're a confident person or you have high self-esteem, you're probably not going to do well in the sport, because you're going to be content with what you look like, or you're going to believe in your ability to perform at a certain level. So it's like being very critical with yourself in my sport is a gift. And and that's one reason why sometimes I step back from prepping people, because I don't want them to think that low about themselves, because it's really unhealthy. You know, the elite of the elite in my sport are the most mentally unhealthy athletes that you will ever come across, because when they see themselves, they don't see a champion. You know, you can win the same big show every year and be the reigning champion, and on the outside, I'm going to conduct myself as a champion, but on the inside, I'm paranoid as shit, because I know that I can lose it at any time, because what am I doing to keep it? Or what am I doing to look better? And being critical with yourself is like I said, it's a blessing, you know, in my sport, because without that, man, you're not going to grow. If I look in the mirror tonight and I say, holy shit, you know, I love my biceps, they're good. Tomorrow, I'm not going to train my biceps as hard as I need to. If I look in the mirror tonight and I absolutely hate my biceps and I want to throw a rock at the mirror and crack that motherfucker, then the next day I'm going to destroy my fucking biceps. And every day I'm critical about my body, every training day I'm going to grow the shit out of it, because I remember what that shit felt like when I looked at it the prior. And that's an unhealthy way to live, but that's bodybuilding. And and that's the only way that you grow in my sport.
I mean, when you think about it, too, I mean, the unhealthy relationship you can build with that, but also how frequently you're analyzing yourself that way. Because it's every day. It's every time you're in the mirror. It's every time you train. It's every time you pose. It's every time you're comparing yourself to somebody else. So that brings up an interesting question, because I'm very about a good, functional, success-oriented mentality, because I believe a lot of people don't have that. But do you think, and let's apply this specifically to bodybuilding for now. Do you think there's a way to be a champion bodybuilder and have a healthy outlook on life?
No, absolutely not. I do not. No, absolutely not. Every single bodybuilder is screwed in the head. And it's sad, but it's the truth. And that is why, and there's only one way to bodybuild, you know, and with social media and everything else, it brought, you know, a fun way to grow the sport of fitness and make it big and make it motivational for everybody. But if you truly have goals of being a champion, if you truly have goals of, you know, getting far in this sport, there's only one way to do it. And it's dark and it's ugly, and that's one reason why I'm so skeptical about training certain people. And that's why I don't really like to do it.
You got to make sure they can handle it.
You got to make sure they can handle it, and it's really, you know, hey, I want to bodybuild, okay? And I don't half-ass bodybuilding. So it's like, okay, cool, you want to bodybuild, you know, now I have to teach you how to hate. I gotta teach you. I literally, and see, life is about, it's more, you're supposed to encourage people. You're supposed to, put love in people. You're supposed to walk around happy, go lucky. But it's like, if you want to embark on this life, it's not a journey, it's a life, then I literally have to teach you how to hate. And if you can't hate, then you can do the sport, but you're not going to be successful. And it's sad because it's the most unhealthiest sport. You will never meet somebody that competes in bodybuilding that had like a Pleasantville upbringing. Every single bodybuilder that you come across has some dark shit that they've been through or that they're dealing with that they call on, that they're fighting every day that they're training. And if they fucking have some type of reconcile with that, if I sit down with a shrink and I talk about that and I let it go, then I can no longer do what I want to do. And the thing is, I'll tell you what, man, I love bodybuilding. And if I wasn't bodybuilding, I would for sure be a pastor. I was always intrigued by pastors because of how much power they have and how much influence they have on people, right? But doing that, but being a pastor, if I find that contentment, if I'm happy, I can't train for bodybuilding. So there's no way I can embark in that life, because if I lose my hatred, if I go ahead and give that up, if I tell somebody, what's bothering me, then I can't come into the gym and do what I do. And then I will ultimately be unhappy because bodybuilding keeps me happy. So it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy, and it's not something that you pick up.
Well, I'll say, like, I've noticed, I swear to God, the happiest I think and most centered I've ever seen you has been in the last few months of this bodybuilding prep.
Exactly.
Because you just did a show a couple weeks ago,
yeah,
right? And now you're just coming out of it. You look like a starving Ethiopian child on a Sally Struthers commercial from the 90s. You could see the bones in his skull. His eyes were sunken in. And the grin on this man's face while he was on stage was ridiculous.
I'm my happiest when I'm in that state, because it's what can you, the thing is bodybuilding, you're literally, you're training 16 weeks, freaking so many weeks out the year, 20, 30, depending on where your body's at and what you need to do for one day, for judges that never even seen you. They don't know you. They don't know your personality. They don't know how hard you train. They didn't see you squat and puke and then go back under the bar, wake up at 2 a.m, do cardio, go back to sleep, wake up, go train. They didn't see how hard you worked, okay? And then you get on that stage, butt-ass naked, to be judged. And then you're vulnerable in front of everybody in the audience. You know what I mean? And it's like, you can't fucking do or say anything to me that I haven't already did to myself. And that's why I like it, It's like,
Well, there's the psychology of that, but on top of that, there's the stress you're putting your body through. Like, look, I know you got to be a little bit off to do powerlifting meets or strongman meets, or to to do some of the shit that will eventually just lead to injury, or you will have just long drawn out plateaus. I've gone years without hitting a PR, only to tweak something and find myself get better. That's one thing. But when I look at bodybuilders who are in the middle of the shit, when I see what the stress is like on the body, it's not a couple hours in the gym 3 or 4 times a week. It's every day hitting your meals. It's every day being depleted. It's every day training through that depletion. It's like you go into gamer mode or, war mode. I don't want to make an unfair comparison, but it's almost like wartime conditions, you know what I mean? Where you're extraordinarily depleted, right? You have no energy. You feel like shit. You're lethargic, but you still got to go put in the work. You still have to dig in and find the intensity and the effort to do more than you did last time.
Right.
And it's like the body is not designed to handle that day in, day out.
Not at all. And that's why hold on, let me look at that. Let me make sure we still got time. Oh, that's the board. But, okay, anyway. I'll edit that out. I thought it was saying that the time was up. But, they're unhealthy, man. Like, all bodybuilders have eating disorders. All bodybuilders have, I look at myself and I hate what I look like. And it's like that's what gets you through it. Because if I feel normal, if I wake up at 7 a.m. and eat, my breakfast and go to work and I feel normal, I would not feel content at all. But if I feel, outside of this world, like how I always felt, because I grew up lonely. I grew up with, always the outsider, always trying to fit in, but never fitting in. And once you accept that, then you're like, I'm different. This is what I'm doing. This is a sport that is built for the different. This is a sport that is built for the lonely. This is a sport that's built for the angry, and you feed on that and it feeds you back. And that's what gets you through it. The prep sucks, but the prep makes you feel like an absolute monster because nobody else is doing it. And the person that you're competing against, you know that he's getting up at the same time or she's getting up at the same time. So you constantly want to get up earlier. You want to leave your all in the prep. And that's really my favorite part of the competition is the prep. The competition is the competition.
But the sport is the prep.
Yeah, the sport is
what
the
you
prep.
do before the competition.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because there is nothing, if I'm prepping you for a bodybuilding show, like for example, I had a buddy, he did a powerlifting meet and he was struggling. And I was able to get inside his head, motivate him where he can find some type of strength and pull his deadlift. And he did. Bodybuilding is the day of the show, I cannot motivate anything.
Yeah.
I cannot talk abs into you. I cannot talk delts into you.
You either spent those months doing what you were supposed to do.
It's everything up to that point.
You either toed the line or you didn't. You either broke or you didn't.
And it's sad and that's why these guys continue to compete, because the show is a means to the end. I'm done. Now it's over. Now I get to eat and feel normal again. Now I get to kind of be happy again, and I don't want to feel that way,
That brings up an interesting point, because kind of the next thing we're going to go into is just talk about general things that piss us off in the world of strength sports today and bodybuilding and so on. But that brings up an interesting point, because barrier to entry is a big deal with describing what the culture of a sport is. You have something like powerlifting. Powerlifting has virtually no barrier to entry. If you can open up with the bar, you can go into a powerlifting meet. In fact, I've seen people open up with the bar. And it's very inclusive for that reason, but it also gets very watered down for that reason, where the idea of achievement and performance kind of goes by the wayside because everyone can participate and everyone can get a trophy. So would you say bodybuilding is different in the fact that
anymore.
It weeds people out?
Not anymore. But okay. The sport of fitness it's grown so much today, but it's sad because people aren't patient. These athletes today I want to do that because it looks cool. I saw somebody's video. They pulled the bar. They had a singlet on. It was customized. It looked badass. I want to go and do that shit and make a fucking video. Or I saw that guy, he had abs on stage, he looked fucking cool. I want to do that shit right now and then sell t-shirts. And the thing is like, you know, where him and I are from, you know, especially bodybuilding, it's like, okay, you want to be a bodybuilder? Okay, how long can you train by yourself? How can you disappear for 10 years before you and build enough muscle to get on the fucking stage? But there's so many divisions now for these guys that with no work ethic. It's like, okay, fuck it, man. You know, just do what you got to do and then come into the sport and we'll give you something. And it's good money-wise and it's good to grow the sport, but to really build an athlete and to really like make somebody very competitive, you know, it's kind of watered down.
And that's, I mean, you said growing the sport. That's something I hear all the time. And I'm still trying to get right in my head what that means. Because it's something that people almost say automatically. Like powerlifting's seen a big jump in the last, 5-10 years, right?
But yeah. Everybody's, you know...
and then strongman kind of followed suit. I think CrossFit threw a lot of people into this realm. I think that has a big...
Yeah.
That was helpful as far as the strength sports go. But I know that there's this talking point where people, I mean, they'll list as their goals, you know, help grow the sport of strongman. That's like I'm proselytizing to you how great it is. And I keep trying to figure out what that means, because if you're envisioning it to where it's like the NFL, the MLB, let's say, even say the UFC, you're talking about a sport that caters to the best of the best, and there's a big fan base, right? A big viewer base. We're the exact opposite. We're a sport that caters to people that want to pay money to participate, and there's still a niche for the people that are the best of the best. But the entirety of strongman and powerlifting right now, 99.9% of competitors are not very good.
Not at all.
And that's nothing against them. You know, they're either new or they're just getting into it. But it's definitely on a bubble right now.
And it's not saying that they're not good. It's saying that you need more time under the bar.
That's it. You're and that's, I like to draw a lot of parallels too between strength sports and martial arts, because I think strength sports have a lot to learn from martial arts. For instance, like having a belt system, right? Don't you feel like you should be able to go around the barbell club that you're at and just peg belt colors on people?
Right.
Like this guy's over here coaching and it's like here's your pin, sit down, you're a white belt.
Yeah, like a boxing gym. They got the guy that's going to, you know, fight on fucking Fox in the ring. The rest of you motherfuckers are hitting the bags outside of the ring. You know, you got to pay your dues to get in the ring. And until you get there, you know, it's like you got to train. You got to work. And I really think, you know, especially in powerlifting, and I'm humble. I am not the strongest person at all. You know, I've done powerlifting, I've done strongman, and I am not a very, you know, I'm not the elite of the elite. My background is bodybuilding, and I'm staying in my lane. You know, and both those sports humbled me to do that. And I would love to see, you know, it's like, hey, powerlifting meet this day. If you want to compete in this fucking meet, you need to at least deadlift this, bench this, and do this. You know, if you're doing anything under that, then why even go? Like, why even, like, it's
at least when you have the contests that are supposed to cater, I feel like there should be more separation. You're not going to have a UFC match where at the same time in the stage next to it, you have people getting their first yellow belt.
Right.
You know what I mean? They don't mix those two. Even CrossFit did a good job of separating the recreational from the competitors.
Absolutely.
Because they start with the open that everybody can participate with, and then as it goes on to regionals and then beyond, people get filtered out, and then eventually you have the games, which is the best of the best.
And when you separate it like that, you know, you get hungry.
You get fucking hungry.
You get hungry because you're like, I want to be there. Like, I shouldn't be here. I want to be there.
Absolutely.
And it'll piss you off, and then you'll train. You know, then you'll turn the camera off and you'll get under the bar and you'll go away for a few months, a few years, and then you'll come back and it'll be somebody else's camera on you and not your own. You know what I mean? And it's like there's not too many athletes like that today. And the ones that there are, yeah, I love those. And I want to train those all damn day. Because when you got it, you got it. You know, and somebody's going to write about you. But when you don't, it's like, it's hard to respect.
Well, I've come across a lot of people, and you know, some of the people I'm talking about, that overrepresent themselves as to their history or the things that they've done. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of people I've come across where, and it's like, look, in the grand scheme of things, I'm a green belt. I answer to the purple belt and the black belts. You know what I mean? And if you're a white belt, you answer to everybody else.
Fuck yeah.
And that's the way that it should be. And
Man.
it's not to put people down. It's to, again, if we go back to the science aspect, it's your job when you're starting out is to learn. You're a student. Be a student. You cannot be a professor first. You cannot be a coach first. You are a student first.
My first mentor, you know, rest in peace, Denise Gerard, RFBB Denise Gerard. When I first met her, I was in prep for my first bodybuilding show, and I was in training. Anybody that knows anything about prep, it has to be on point. Okay, I do this at this time. I do this at this time. Nobody talk to me. Nobody do anything. My head's down, whatever. She introduced herself. I was training triceps. She introduced herself to me. She approached me, and she said, hey, listen, I'm a pro, whatever. I didn't give a shit about my workout. I didn't give a shit about my next meal. You know, she knew I was I told her I was in prep for a show, and she stopped. She talked to me. She gave me insight. And, man, I talked to that woman for 4 hours that night. And I didn't talk. I just shut the fuck up. And I just listened. And I took note. And I just listened. And I took note. And every night, you know, I would see her prep people. And I'd seen people give her $900 cash, $1,000 cash. She made so much money prepping these athletes. She didn't charge me a dime. She just would talk to me for hours and hours on the phone. And I would just soak it in. She died in 2013, and I haven't had her at all. But, you know, this last prep and all my training things, you know, my templates have all been from every time I listened to her. And she, dead, that woman's knowledge is still my prep coach. And it will be all up until I decide that I'm done bodybuilding. But it's like, if you're not willing to learn, then you're not going to go anywhere in any of these sports.
Yeah, and I mean, it just as a matter of principle, I hate charlatans. I hate people that represent themselves as something they're not. It's a selfish, narcissistic thing to do. It's a thing that people do that's completely self-serving. But in a field like this, it can actively do damage to others.
Absolutely.
So when you try to represent yourself as an authority when you are anything but, you are it's a matter of time before your actions lead to somebody else getting hurt. Aside from just wasting their time entirely.
Yeah.
And there's just not enough people that stay in their lane.
Not at all.
You said it best. So I'm so
And it's crazy, man, because in this sport, especially hanging around you and all the other guys at the gyms, you know, and I keep myself on the bottom of the totem pole, and it's like the guys that can be that guy, like, hey, shut up and listen to me. I know what I'm talking about. They want to learn. They just shut up and want to learn. They're the last people to talk. They're like, they just want to learn. You know, you see books on their desk and they're just like willing to learn. They're going to seminars and it's like, dude, you can teach a class. But yet all they want to do is learn.
And it's a different environment. I mean, so what? I started lifting in 99, 2000, right? So before YouTube was a thing, before Instagram existed, it was probably pre-MySpace. I mean, we're going way back, right? So the best I could hope for was if a Barnes & Noble or a Borders happened to have a Powerlifting USA in it. The closest I got was bodybuilding rags. I mean, that was the closest I got to what I was trying to do. Every now and then they'd feature like Mark Filippi or some other strongman in like a little page in the corner, and I'd cut it out and put it in a book. Like, that was gold to me. But it was so hard at that time to find somebody who was seasoned, knew what they were talking about. Man. You could be sure that by the time you came to that information, it was gold.
Being deprived is a blessing, man.
It's a blessing.
It's a blessing.
It is.
It's a blessing.
And now it's the opposite. Now it's the flood. There is so much content. And by the way, that's how you know, if you want a little side tip on how to be successful as a blogger or a YouTuber, it's content. That's what it is. Everywhere you read, that's what they're going to tell you. Every video you watch, that's what they're going to tell you. You have to be consistent with content. You have to have so many thousands of articles. You have to have so many posts. That's the only way you will get ranked where people will find you. And that's why we have hundreds of articles written on what type of shoes you should wear when you lift, right? The difference between this strap and that strap. The difference between 13 and 10
had none of that shit.
They had none of it.
None of that shit.
The funniest shit, so I don't want to name names here, but so Philip.
We're naming names.
We're naming names. So Philip, who is one of the strongest human beings, probably in a 500-mile radius,
Yeah, he's
right?
crazy.
He looks like an off-season bodybuilder, but he does not bodybuild. He has.
I wish you would, Philip.
He has like 5, from what I've seen. He has like 5 or so token lists that he does over and over, and it's a very simple. And I'm all about simplicity in training. I think many people overcomplicate shit. He knows what he responds to. He does the same basic movements. He's a very simple trainee. He's also very dedicated, and he's been doing it for a long fucking time. First time I met Philip, I was living in my roommate's house in Highland, and I was trying to get a little strongman crew going. It was long before this gym existed. So I put out an ad or something on Facebook or something saying, hey, we're going to be doing strongman training. I had nobody. It was just me, right? Party of one. Philip hits me up and comes out. And I'm showing him how to log press. And he looks like an off-season body. He's so wide and so dense. He comes out, and he's strolling with 700-pound yoke walk first time he does it. And he was like strict pressing a 260 log. And it was just nuts. It was his first time touching these implements. And I'm like, oh man, like you're pretty strong. Like, what are your numbers at? And he starts going over his numbers, and he's like, I got a 675 bench. And in my head, I looked at him and I was like, no, you don't. Like, that's like, no, you don't. I was just factual, objectively, you don't. And of course, I didn't say that because he was twice my fucking size.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But I was just like, there's no fucking way. So years later, Philip ends up coming by the gym and joining up, right? And he starts lifting, and I watch him lift. And I was like, I'm so happy I bit my fucking tongue.
Because he got that shit.
He could have been like another Spotto, just another guy that came out of nowhere with a mid-600 bench and got close to the take of the bench record. But I mean, I watched him do 605 on our plates, which are heavy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
they all weigh
2 pounds heavier.
They all weigh 1 to 2 pounds heavy. We're not jacking ourselves off. It was just verified. We weighed them all. They're all, sloppy, put together plates. They deviate quite a bit, but they're heavy. But he had 645s and a fucking 10 on each side, and he hit that shit with a pause with Jared spotting it.
I know, I saw
Jared
that video.
spotting it, right?
Jared was probably shitting in his pants.
Oh, Jared was 6'1", 170 pounds, and with a dad bod. You know what I mean? Like he had his hands out.
Yeah, he looked like a fucking
like, what am I gonna do with this if this guy goes
Little
down?
League third base coach.
So, anyways, Philip, right? He's a hometown hero around here. He's an incredibly strong human being. He spends a workout or two up at the Gym Barbell Club, and
why are you training there, Philip?
He talked to me about it. He said he had some business with somebody there. He was there twice. It was a thing. He was very apologetic about it. And I'm like, dude, it's a gym. You can train where you want to train.
Yeah, you can train there.
I was like,
but don't.
You don't have our look. But don't. We love the Gym Barbell Club.
No, the Gym Bar. I love the
friends.
Gym Barbell. Yeah, Eric King. I'm a fucking fan.
You are a big fucking fanboy.
Yeah, I do fanboy on Eric King.
What was I telling you?
We were talking about Philip.
All right, yeah. So Philip's at the gym, right? And the thing about our place is, everything. I would say most things are either secondhand, or I found them on Craigslist, or I made it myself, and I'm not handy. So this looks like somewhere Fred Flintstone would train, right? And Joe Scott runs the Gym Barbell Club. His gym's beautiful. He's got like original York dumbbells. He's got hammer strength equipment. He's got 2 of everything. He has 2 vert poles.
He doesn't hate anything. He didn't grow up with hate.
He didn't grow up with it. So he's got a lot of love. So his gym is beautiful, but he also has all the specialty bars that he paid money for.
He's got everything,
right?
man.
He's got everything you need.
He's fucking got
now,
everything.
The thing is, when you're a gym owner and you actually bestow nice equipment, and I've gone through these pains, when you actually have something nice and expensive that's meant to be used a specific way, you get a little irritated when the knuckleheads come out.
Oh, absolutely.
And they misuse it, or they just use it however they think they should. And Joe's very sensitive to this, right? More so than I probably am, because, all our shit is donated. Goodwill Barbell, that's what I call us.
But this is a good gym.
So Philip goes to the gym, and apparently he took one of the deadlift bars and started doing his overhead pin presses with it. So one of his movements, he likes to sit at a slight incline with the safety supports right about here.
Did he know it was a deadlift
and from a dead stop. So I talked to him about it, and he's like, I don't fucking know. A bar's a bar. And I shed a single tear. I was like, that's the most beautiful thing
That
I've
is
ever
the
heard.
most beautiful
That's the most
thing
beautiful
I've ever
fucking thing.
Man,
I've been to
Philip, man.
I've been to meets where guys are running around pissed because they don't have a deadlift bar to warm up on. You're gonna make me warm up on
And
what
he's
bar?
like, a bar's a bar.
And Philip, who is a brick shit house, one of the strongest people in a few counties over, is just like, I don't know, he's like, it's a bar. He's like, it's a weight, you fucking lift it. So sure enough, he puts a nice little bend in one of Joe's deadlift bars.
Yeah, dude, when he started working out there, I was like, they're going to fucking hate him. Because he's going to bend every bar in that place.
Good for him.
Yeah, go actually keep training there, man.
Joe, I'll buy that deadlift bar off you at a discount if you're interested.
Fuck it. Donate that shit.
But that's in a world where everybody's trying to be an expert before they're an expert, where people keep putting the cart before the horse, where they try to be coaches before they're students. It's like, this is what you have. You have a demand for equipment that people just don't need.
I'll tell you something though, man. Nobody ever wants to hear about the guy that's already had it. They want to hear about the guy that had to get there. And that's why I like this gym, because fucking Empire Barbell is going to teach you how to get there. And there's certain gyms, that people go to because they're put together very well. They're marketable. How can I attract customers? How can I attract the consumer? It's attractive. I want to bring people in. This is a business. So, the great athlete, goes there. But the Empire Barbell, you walk in with nothing, and you're gonna leave being able to fucking do everything. And that's why I love this gym. And that's why I don't train at, and if anybody knows me, man, I don't train at any other personal gyms besides this one, and then House of Power I do, but because they're really fucking cool. And they're really cool with Empire Barbell. But I won't go anywhere else because I'll feel guilty, because I'm like, it's cool, but I really respect and I really like what Empire Barbell does, because they choose everybody. And I'll tell you this, 4th, 5th grade, right? You're playing basketball at PE. Everybody's lined up. The 2 best players get to pick people. I'll pick him, I'll pick him, I'll pick him. And then the last suckiest guy that can't play has to stand on the sideline and be a sub. Okay, Empire Barbell is going to pick that guy first. And they're going to turn him into the fucking best athlete that he can be. And that's why I respect Empire Barbell, because they go after the guy, that can be something but has no direction. And I will always respect that, and that's why I decided to train here. Everything's gutter, everything's rough, and that's how beginnings start. That's how Genesis starts. Everything has a Genesis, and the world was, rocks and bullshit in the beginning, and that's how this gym is. And then you leave and you got
Rocks
beauty.
and bullshit.
Yeah, and you leave and you got beauty, and that's why I will always train here, and I will always call this my home gym. So, anyways, with that said, that's a cool plug for Empire Barbell.
But it's. I mean, there's a couple different ways you can go with a place like this, and I'll even give the shout out where I came from. The first place I ever trained at, and you talked about your mentor. I trained at East West Strength. Back then, it was a Freak Factory, i.e. Scott Brengel's front yard in his apartment complex. And that's where I learned.
got a story about him.
Everybody's got a story
Yeah,
about him.
I got a story.
I was fortunate enough for somebody to reach out to me back on the old Morunde Muscle Forum. Rest in peace. If that was still around now.
Man, I miss those.
If that was still around now, it'd be a different day.
I miss those.
But,
I miss those.
Yeah, that was I don't even know if they have forums anymore. That was a forum where the pros interacted directly with the newbies, but that hierarchy maintained, because when the best of the best talked, everybody else listened. So it was a very productive forum. Anyway, somebody reached out to me and invited me over there, and I trained there off and on for a couple years. And I was a kid. I was 19, 20, somewhere around there. And it was an hour drive every Saturday, and sometimes I made it, sometimes I didn't. I definitely took the training for granted. And Scott is known for keeping a very tight grip on the competitive atmosphere at his place. It's one of the reasons they're so great. They've turned out, 7 or 8 pro strongmen.
I know.
They're very good at what they do. And to this day, I mean, it's 10, 12 years later, I'm still writing off. I mean, if anything, I learned how to run a training camp. The things you expect of people, the things you won't put up with, as far as what is good enough effort, what is not good enough effort. I mean, I remember it used to be that if it's your first day, you're going to do the death medley. You're going to do a farmer's to a tire flip to a sled drag. Half of it's going to be uphill. And if you come back next week, then you earned your spot there.
That's fucking
beautiful. And that's a lot of what I take, because look, there's so many variables that go into being a good lifter, being a good athlete, a good bodybuilder, whatever. Talent rarely beats hard work if it's just one or the other. If it's just one or the other, talent rarely beats hard work.
Oh, talent loses all day against hard work.
And if you have any gifts, any talent, anything you can look at and cling to and say, this is what I could be great at, and you apply a vicious work ethic to that, you will surpass the majority of people. You just will. I mean,
every day, man, when I train, I always tell myself, like, and again, I get dark, and I would hate to put this in somebody's head, but I get off of work and it's time to train, and I'll say, hey, listen, you don't have a job, you're homeless. This workout is what pays your bills. This workout is what's going to get you, a roof over your head. It's going to put, buy your mom a house, buy your mom this, or I'll put myself in that dark place. I will put myself in that dark place to fucking, get the best workout. It's the work that gets you there. It's not the talent. And really, a lot of people today rely on their talent. And that's why there's so many lower divisions and lower classes and novices and lower weight classes. Let's add another weight class for the guys that aren't disciplined enough to eat, because you rather record yourself instead of fucking eat another meal and get big enough to fucking compete with the best.
Well, that goes back to the whole growing the sport argument, right? Because you have this consumer-based sport. It's better to grow the consumer base of the sport for the people that make money off the sport.
Yeah, exactly.
So adding more divisions is going to bring in, I did the math, I forget the exact number. In powerlifting, if you add in bench only, deadlift only, raw, equipped, classic raw, age groups, weight classes, if you add it all together, there's something like 4,500 different individual divisions, which is why when you go to a USPA meet and Steve Dennison walks in with a large U-Haul box full of gold medals, it's the best investment he could ever make, because if you get a plastic gold medal for 50 cents,
you bought that shit.
Then you bought that shit. Your $100 entry fee.
I'll say this: bodybuilding, the NPC, you play second place. I play second place. I bought my trophy. I didn't even touch that motherfucker. Like, I was cool with my mom taking it away.
Oh yeah, your mom.
No, yeah, and I was so cool with it.
I got what I came for.
Yeah, I was so cool with it. Whatever. I went there for the national spot, but it's like, you bought that shit. Like, you literally bought that fucking shit. And it's like, it's these strength sports is, I'm either the strongest or I'm not. Or I'm either, put together the best or I'm not. So if you don't win, these are first place sports. These are sports where first place means everything.
It's a byproduct, because if you get a first place trophy and you're the only one in that division,
exactly,
it's better than when you played soccer and they gave no trophies,
right?
Or they gave trophies to everyone. But that's what we're up against, right? It doesn't just boggle my. I understand why the promoters do it, because it works. The promoters do it for money.
Yeah, money.
But what boggles my mind is when I see the actual lifter, the athlete, smiling ear to ear with a gold medal, and they're standing on that first place podium, and there's no one to their left and no one to their right.
Isn't that nuts? You can sell anybody anything. It's nuts.
It's insanity.
It's crazy.
It's enough a bit of validation that's something, and I don't know if that's just because they can throw it on social media.
That's what it is. Because,
or maybe they've just been conditioned their whole life to, here's your Girl Scout badge, right? Here's something you can put on your sleeve, like a fashion accessory, to show you're a power lifter. It's like,
you either kill or you're killed. No, that's how war is. Okay, and that's competition. And that's why people always relate competition to war, and not taking away, not comparing the two, but as a veteran, it's like, that's what it is. You take out your enemy and you win. You take out your enemy and you put up the flag. You know, so it's like competition. You take out your competition and you get your
competition implies that you're going against somebody else.
Exactly. Yes. He made a better analogy. So it's like, man, I could not understand. I would be upset if I was to train my ass off, go into a competition, and there's nobody in my class because I decided to, you know, go down in a weight class or go into something that I know is a given. Like, why not push yourself? Why not see where you can go? That's a terrible way to live.
Well, I'll go on record, like, I hate powerlifting.
I hate it too.
I'm just gonna say,
I think powerlifting is the dumbest fucking sport.
I'll add a caveat to that. That's coming from somebody that I remember in 2001.
I hate powerlifting until we get to guys like Larry Wills, Brandon Allen.
That's what I'm talking about. Like, I remember waking up when I was, 16, 17 to watch the Mountaineer Cup on ESPN2 at 4 a.m. because that was the only televised powerlifting meet that I knew existed. I didn't even know they showed it on TV. And I set my alarm and woke up to watch that shit. And I remember it was Bo Moore and Brian Siders. They were two of the best guys to ever do it. And I remember just being absolutely overtaken with how impressive the feats were, with what it took to get to that level. And then when you exist in it, or when you exist in that field nowadays, it's a very, very different thing. And I get reminded of what the greatness is like when they had the Kern Open, right? Or they have Boss of Bosses recently, and you watch what talent exists out there in the world, what feats of human performance exists out there, and you're kind of reminded about the greatness. Like, this is what it was supposed to be. This is what the sport is about. I
love those. Yeah, and see, that's a whole nother arena. And I feel like, everything else is like we're playing house. Like when you were a kid and you got dressed up and you were like, let's play mom and dad. Okay, yeah, all those other classes are playing house. And then, then you, like you said, you got the Kern and you got the Boss of Bosses. I think that's where every athlete's mind should be, especially in powerlifting or bodybuilding, because it's achievable. It's not like, oh shit, I didn't play basketball in high school, so how am I going to get to the NBA?
It is a long-term sport. It is something that you have to do for decades plus to be great at.
Why wouldn't you fucking do that?
What is Wheels, like 24, 23?
Yeah, he's an absolute freak.
But when do you think you first picked up a barbell? Everyone's fixated on how young he is, but how long do you think he's been lifting weights?
He's been lifting
minimum 5 years?
Yeah, minimum. I wouldn't even give him 5. Maybe 5.
I'd say I wouldn't be surprised if he was bench pressing when he was 13 years old.
Yeah, dude.
So you're talking about something that literally
Matter of fact, he posted pictures of him as a kid.
Yeah.
And he was fucking flexing. Like, it was just in him. Like, it's just certain things, like, it's just in you. And the best thing that you can do is accept it. If you don't accept it, then, you're going to be a late athlete, like a late bloomer. And that was my thing, is I didn't want to accept who I was because at the time it was weird. I remember I was talking to a chick, right? And she saw my hands one day, and I went to touch her, and she flinched because I have very, very rough hands from lifting. And so I felt like, well, damn,
I bet she flinched in a good way.
Yeah, like, it's like, well, shit, man, this is what I do. So you try to fit in, and you really kill yourself. But if you accept it, then yeah, you're gonna go fucking far. You're gonna go fucking far.
That woman would have given you soft children.
Yeah, that was the first time I had a pregnancy scare.
The first time. First of many.
First of many. Anyway, that's another topic.
So that's why you stay on. It's like male birth control, right?
Hell yeah.
That's what I tell my girlfriend. What do you think about Brandon Allen being racist?
You know what? That's a funny topic. And you're going to hate what I say right now. You're going to hate what I say. And I had an opportunity to meet Brandon Allen. I met him once, fucking gym. They put on a nice deadlift meet, and we were there, and I talked to him. Super cool guy. Awesome dude. I follow him, and I would take some of his tips. What's that thing that he invented for the
vert pool?
The vert pool.
Vert pool.
I was so mad when I saw that because I used to do that, but I would use it with a box.
Right?
Yeah, I would use a box, and I'm like, God damn it, I need to fucking get innovative because there's certain things that we've been doing forever that people do. But you know what? I'll say this, man. I don't know if he's a racist. I don't know if he's not, and I don't really care because the guy is cool as shit, and he competes in a sport, that's all about strength, and he's strong as fuck. But again, in these sports and when you're that elite, and like I said, forgive me for what I'm about to say, but when I was powerlifting, the only thing that would pick that bar up is hate. When I'm bodybuilding, the only thing that gets me through the prep is hate. Strongman, the only thing that would get me through those medleys or picking up that, the log is hate. So, God damn it, if hate for a certain motherfucking race gets him to do what he gotta do, then I don't give a shit. Do what the fuck you gotta fucking do. And and I'm not saying, and that's bad because, I really, really seriously doubt the man is a racist. But you know what? If he came across somebody of a certain ethnicity one day and they did him absolutely wrong, and every day he gets under that barbell, he sees that motherfucker, then you know what, Brandon Allen, kill that bitch. Because you're strong as fuck and you're good for the fucking sport and you're keeping it real. Like, that's the powerlifting, strongman, arm wrestling, pro wrestling, and bodybuilding. Okay, I used to train at a gym that everybody trained there. Arm wrestlers, pro wrestlers, and strong. And the thing was, everybody was fucked up. Everybody was fucked up, And it's like you whatever you got to do to get where you got to go, that's where you go. And there is no color. It's just you're an athlete, you're an athlete, you're an athlete, and whatever it is that gets you under the bar, I'm going to preach that to you so you get what you have to do and you go where you want to go. So, I don't know, man. I'm not saying the guy is racist, but if he is, and that hate gets him to go where he wants to go, then yeah, fuck him. Go where you got to go. And that's where I'm at. Because I'll tell you what, there's a lot of people that I don't like, and there's certain laws that are in place that won't allow me to deal with them. But when I get onto that bar, I kill them. When I see that weight or, those demons, they manifest. And I'm like, yes, I see that. Okay. It's like what Kai Green said when he was describing Ronnie Coleman squatting 800 pounds like 3 weeks out from the Olympia. And the interviewer, that was the first time I've ever seen emotion out of Kai Green. He got pissed off because he was like, dude, you cannot be a nice guy and squat 800 pounds, 3 weeks from the Olympia, depleted. Like, you can't be a nice guy and do that shit. So it's like, dude, Brandon Allen, his squat is ridiculous. His bench is ridiculous. You can't be a sane motherfucker and do that shit. Everybody in these sports are, like I said, are demented, are a little fucked up. But that's what makes it beautiful, because we take that hate and we turn it into strength. Now, would you rather, him not do that shit and walk around, committing hate crimes or whatever the fuck? And I'm not saying he's a racist, but that's what I'm saying.
I'm not sure that's how he wants to be represented.
Yeah, my bad, man. I'm sorry. I don't think Brandon Allen is a racist.
Oh, all right.
No. Okay,
I see where you're going with that, but like Brandon's watching this like, what the fuck are you doing to me?
No, you are not. I don't believe you are, man.
This has been
I don't believe you are.
Empire Barbell, sponsored by Jameson. All right.
I don't believe you are, man.
But no, so I don't know. I don't have any personal experience with him. I've seen him at the gym. I've never talked to him. I've heard very good things about the man. I haven't heard anything negative about the man. What was your experience with him?
He was the coolest guy. He was super cool, man. And as a matter of fact,
and I
was with Jessica, right?
Okay.
I was with Jessica, and she was standing there with his girlfriend. She's gorgeous. And I was like, man, I kind of want to say hi to him, but I'm kind of nervous because, he's a big deal. And so he said, what's up to us? He said, what's up to us? I shook his hand, and he was like, dude, I feel like I've met you somewhere, or I feel like I know you. And I was like, no, but I follow you on
What are
Instagram.
you trying to say? All black people look alike?
Yeah, right. But I was like, no, and we shot the shit, dude, and that was it. And he was like, all right, right on. And it was super cool, you know. But
Look,
I've
got my privileged white guy blinders on. I mean, you've interacted with people who are prejudiced, right? You've interacted with.
But I'll tell you, dude, today you can't fucking do nothing and be like, and be like, oh man, he's this. Like, I can do something today that's out of, you know, everybody's whatever, and I'll get judged for it.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, man. You know, I don't know. Like, I got a tattoo. It says "Die Empty." People see "die" and they think I'm this dark, crazy guy. They don't know the meaning behind it, or you know, there's certain.
That was probably the most ridiculous thing. We deal with that here. We have some of our members, you know who you are, who are very into symbolism and things like numerology and cryptic meanings. And the thing about those things is you can assign whatever meaning to it you want. You know, people try to put it in a black and white category. You are this or you aren't this. There's this weird, like, large militant push against Nazis, and I'm not saying I'm pro-Nazi. I'm just saying I'm white. I talk to a lot of white people. I don't know a lot of Nazis.
Yeah, I
You
don't
come across a lot of Nazis.
I've never met a Nazi.
For as many people as
by
there are,
knowing.
as many people as there are carrying signs in the streets, like saying "punch a Nazi," like I don't know where the Nazis are hiding at.
I don't know.
I don't know. That's just me. That's me. Yeah, I don't know. I had a feeling. I know a lot of guys that you know, they've gotten dumb tattoos because of who they associated with when they were younger. Or whatever.
And yeah,
it doesn't mean shit. This is how I look at life. I look at life, and this is a big problem. Is people tend to think like your intentions, your desires, your hopes, your dreams are somehow who you are. They're not. You are what you do. You are what you do. I don't care what your intention was. The real consequences, the real impact that your life has is what says who you are as an individual. And I've never heard anything but positive shit from this guy, from everybody. Now, I will say, I saw Stan Efferding try to get in front of this thing. That little montage he put together.
That's the worst.
Of Brandon
Yeah,
Allen
that's the last thing you want to
shaking
do.
hands with multi-ethnic lifters.
Like,
I got what he was trying to do. He was
yeah,
trying to say this is a guy who.
I'm mad I wasn't on the montage because I shook his hand. Why
wasn't I on the picture?
Yeah, why wasn't I on the picture?
Black friends of Brandon Allen. That was a little cringeworthy.
Yeah,
that was a little cringeworthy.
but Stan does that shit. Like, he even did that
He's
shit
old.
with
He's 50. He's an
yeah,
old man.
and he looks incredible.
It's a different time.
He did that shit with fucking what's his name? O'Hearn.
O'Hearn, yeah.
O'Hearn, whatever. He's like, oh man, you know, I've never seen him, you know, do anything. He's always been consistent. When they were trying to back him up because he doesn't use gear, but he does. You know what I mean? It's like, that's another thing, man. If you gear, just fucking say you do. Who gives a shit?
I think they do all that shit tongue in cheek.
Oh,
When
Lord.
he does the shit with, fuck, I'm down to Diet Coke.
But Brandon Allen, I'm sorry for what I said, but I don't think, you know, I don't think you're a racist at all. I don't think so. And if you are, whatever the fuck. But I don't think you are, man. I think you're a cool guy. I think you're very strong. I think you're very motivating. Dude, when the vert rep, he was dropping it off.
The vert pull.
The vert pull. He was dropping it off. If you ordered it, he'd drop it off personally. I mean, okay, God forbid the guy's a racist, you know, and he's a self-made businessman. I mean, that's bad for business. Why would you? I just don't. I don't see it. I don't see it. And these sports are so diverse. I mean, especially these athletic sports, bodybuilding, powerlifting, you know, and a lot of, you know, I'm going to say it, you know, the blacks, they got really good genetics for these sports, and they do really well in these sports, you know, and they dominate. And it's like, I don't see, everybody comes together. And that's one thing I really, really love about these sports, because it's all about, hey man, what did you do to be able to pull 800? Or what did you do to be able to pull 600, 700, whatever? And then the strong guy tells the weak guy how to get there. I've never met an asshole bodybuilder. I've never met at an elite level. I've never met an asshole strongman or an asshole powerlifter where it's like, hey, get out of my way, you're not in my league. Hey, no, this is what I did. This is the book I read. This is the program I ran. Here, let me write you a program. You know? My buddy ran into Brian Shaw at the Metroflex in Texas, and he met him. He told him his goals. Brian Shaw wrote him a diet on a fucking sticky note right there, and said, "Dude, this is where you should be at with your body weight. Go do this." And I just don't see it, man. I just don't see it in this sport. This sport is so small, and the guys that really want to be, strong, they know what it takes. And so it's like, it's all about encouragement. It's all about, I got to encourage Alex. Alex has to encourage me, and we continue to grow. Brandon Allen, he's a big-time social media guy. He's got to encourage a following. His following is diverse. Why would he do anything to jeopardize his following and his business? So I don't think the guy promotes anything like that.
He's been taking shirtless deadlift videos for a very long time.
Forever, dude.
So if 88 meant Hail Hitler to him, I have a feeling that that's something he wouldn't have displayed so readily. So I don't know. It's I think the worst case scenario is a poor choice of tattoos, but I have no sympathy for the people that are trying to put a Nazi flag on
and that's
the
all
forehead.
people do. That's all people do
And
today.
it's a
Is
few
point
people.
the finger, and it's
a
like,
few people.
yeah, that's crazy that that's even a thing. But no, I'm so, a little passion got into me about that hate rant. But
I was like, God damn, we're gonna get a letter.
yeah,
I
but
think we just
I
got
don't
a
think.
cease and desist
Yeah,
knock
man,
off
I
our front
don't
doorstep.
think the dude is a racist at all. I think he's a cool guy. He's strong is crazy, and I mean,
Well, look, you can't escape your reputation. You
Yeah.
can never escape your reputation. And I haven't met anybody yet that's had anything negative to say. And what's funny too is because there's people that are big in the sport that I've heard multiple negative things about that people tend to gloss over. I've heard Lou Ferrigno's an asshole.
Lou Ferrigno is an asshole.
I've heard that.
Yeah, Lou is an ass.
You know what? I'm gonna get roasted by the strongman community. Bill Kazmaier's a fucking prick.
I've never met Bill.
I've met him in person. He was fine. He was cordial. There's a video of him floating around.
Is he even married?
Is he married?
Is he?
I think so. I think he has family.
Oh, okay.
I think. I don't know. I don't know his personal life. But I know there was a video floating around of him. I don't know if it was 80s. I think it was 80s. It was around the time he was still competitive. But overseas, they were filming this documentary, and it was about, I think it was a bodybuilder. And I can't remember if he was English, Irish, whatever. But it's this blonde, I want to say English or Irish woman who was interviewing this bodybuilder at this gym, and Bill Kazmaier was doing curls in the background. And he comes up and starts talking shit, right? Like, why are you interviewing him? His exact words, he's a pipsqueak. Why are you interviewing him? This guy was a short, stocky bodybuilder. Bill Kazmaier is bigger than God.
Yeah, he's huge.
Massive at the time. And he comes up, he starts talking shit, and the reporter starts talking back to him. And his response as he gets to her face says, "You're a little bitch." And this is I think you can find it on YouTube. I'm pretty sure. I forget what the guy's name was. It was something Man of Might. I don't know. You can find it. But also, he was at the contest Eric was at.
Yeah, he was.
So he was.
Oh, you know, I knew that.
Okay, so I competed last weekend at Ode Haugen's gym, the training hall, which is very hospitable, very helpful. He's a legend in the sport. I mean, he went to his first World Strongest Man final. He was 56, I think. He made it to the finals. Nasty grip strength. Every dumbbell, whatever he has there, has a thick handle on it. But one of their guys there, who I guess trains with Martins on a regular basis, is this guy's massive. So the other heavyweight that I had to beat was 6'8", 400 pounds. That was the guy I competed against. This guy has the tools to be a great strongman. Now I don't want to assign any diagnosis or anything. Dude's a little strange, a little hesitant to make eye contact. Didn't have good control over his body. Tried to shoulder a stone 3 times and he would catch it out to the side and let it fall. Strong as shit though. He took a 300-pound stone of steel and popped it up to his shoulder without problem. He just couldn't stabilize it. So if he gets that under control, he's going to be a force to be reckoned with. Somebody, who I'm not going to name, at the gym said that at that contest he was at, when Bill Kazmaier was emceeing, that Bill Kazmaier told him to get the fuck out of strongman. I heard that from 2 different people. And I verified he said that in passing or he told him that. They both said he told him that. as if, I don't know, he's a danger to himself, whatever. There's a lot of people that get idolized, that get put up on this pedestal of where people, you know, it's idolatry. It's, well, this is someone I grew up following. I was a massive Kazmaier fan for years. I studied everything that guy had to say. I remember talking to him at an expo. I remember hearing his stories of what he accomplished and how unprecedented it was. He was a big driving force. But that's an example of a guy who gets a pass, probably because he's a little older, who's, you know, maybe not the hero that he was made up to be.
Man, if Bill Kazmaier tells you to get the fuck out of strongman,
what are you gonna say? You get the fuck out of strongman?
Yeah, you fucking, you gonna be a substitute teacher. You're done. You gonna pick up fucking softball.
Oh my god.
No, oh man, that's nuts. That's crazy. I would hate to hear that. But you know what? At the same time, I think, you know, Bill Kazmaier got the short end of the stick in strongman. There was a year that they just didn't allow him to compete.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, so maybe the fucker, you know.
So what if he competed and won? So he'd be, what, 4-time instead of 3-time?
Yeah.
He still wouldn't have the record. I remember hearing him MC at the Arnold, and in between while they were setting up events, his big contribution was he started talking about how Magnus for Magnuson, Guinness Book of World Records had him as the strongest man of all time.
That's my favorite dude.
And he took issue with that. So he's like, I disagree. And he started going down their comparative list of lifts. He's like, Magnus squatted 800, I squatted 800.
I don't like people like that.
And that's exactly what he did.
Iris Kyle does the same shit.
Yeah. Ooh.
I'm sorry. I love Iris Kyle. Yeah, I'm sorry. No, as a pro.
No. Let me top your drink off. Come on, let's keep it coming. Let's keep it coming.
No, I just
This is where the show gets good. At the end
I
of the
don't
bottle.
like that shit. I don't like that shit. Like where they're like, I remember. Well, she was in the right. I remember they introduced her as like 8-time Miss Olympia, and she was like, I'm 9-time. You know what I mean? And it's like,
how dare you?
Everybody knows you're fucking 9-time. Like everybody, you don't have to fucking. You don't have to
get validation from.
You don't have to. We all know who you are.
7-time, you're 12.
Yeah, we know who the fuck you are. We know who the fuck you are.
But no, him specifically. I remember this is probably 2008, 2009. He was emceeing for the Arnold Classic, and I went there twice. I was like 20, 21. I was young, and I was still just starstruck by everybody there. And just sitting, 30 feet away from Kazmaier while he had the mic in his hand, I was hanging on every word, and I even wanted to hear, they're setting up, the show's not going to go for another 45 minutes, and I'm sitting there listening to what he has to say in the meantime, and it's literally a list of his accomplishments throughout history.
That's fucking stupid.
And it was...
We know who you are, Bill.
And then you hear his numbers, and it's like, well...
That's what happens, though, man.
But it's like, well, how do you feel now? Because now so many people have surpassed those numbers. I mean, Eddie Hall has a video of him doing a casual 800 for 8.
Yeah.
Thor...
I'm sad he got out of strongman. I was a big Eddie Hall fan.
I don't think he's gone for good. But Thor is probably the only man in existence right now that can... And I don't know what some of these other guys... I don't know what Hall still has in him. But, I mean, Thor squatted and deadlifted over 1 grand. Nobody in powerlifting is doing that. Kaz couldn't do that. And the fact that he's 6'8" on top, it's insane. It's insanity. So the bar keeps rising. But yeah, anyway, so if we're going to loop all this back around, I mean, you got a guy who's like Brandon, who's known for being an exceedingly helpful, productive member of the culture that he lives in, which includes a lot of other people.
Yeah, he's nuts.
It seems insane to me to assign these imagined plights that, or I guess that's the wrong word,
No, you're right.
You know what I mean?
Like, don't bring that bullshit in here. The thing is like, we're the others. Powerlifting, strongman, bodybuilding. And I say powerlifting, I'm not a fan of power, but they're in there too, because there's some strong fucking powerlifters out there. But powerlifting, strongman, arm wrestling, pro wrestling, we're the others. Okay? We're those strange motherfuckers. And
that kind of transcends anything.
Yeah,
right?
There's only one thing that makes us tick.
Yeah.
Don't bring the bullshit into our world, because we're fucking vile. And that's why we do what we do. These are one-man sports. It's not It's Alex under the bar. It's Alex on the log. Okay, it's not, hey coach, take me out, I have cramps. Or, you know what, let me pass the ball because I need to catch my breath. It's, you know what, I just fucking, gave everything on my second attempt, but I gotta find some shit on my third attempt. Or whatever, I'm depleted as fuck, my muscles are cramping, I'm like 2 seconds from passing out, but I'm gonna get on this stage and I'm gonna pose my fucking ass off. Or it's like, yo, I'm depleted, I pulled my hamstring, my lower back hurts, but you know what? I'm gonna pull for this world record or this state record. It's like, whatever we gotta do to do that, don't fuck with it. This is our world, man, and don't come in it, because everybody that does this seriously is content. And we're cool with whatever the mentality the opponent or other motherfucker has. We're cool with that because I want to beat the best. And if whatever you got to think of makes you the best under the bar, then be there and do that because I'm going to do what I have to do and I want to beat the best. So it is what it is. When I was bodybuilding, it's like I had a guy that I wanted to beat so bad and I wanted to beat him at his best. I didn't want to beat him on an off day. I didn't want to beat him because he tore a bicep. So, hey man, I got a cold. Motherfucker, I'm bringing you NyQuil. Get the fuck better. Because when it's show day, I don't want an excuse to beat you. So whatever you got to think of, whatever you got to do in this sport, we want to beat the best. There is no bye week. There is no fucking whatever it is, free card or hell yeah, we got in because we got so many of these points. No, it's our performance that day. That's why we're different. It's off our performance. It's off what you see that day. And it's like, back the fuck off. Like, seriously, back the fuck off. Don't come into our world. I don't like that shit.
We're fucking vile. I'm gonna drink.
Yeah, we're fucking vile, man. I don't give a shit. There is no color. It's all strength. There's no fucking color. You're either strong or you're weak. There's no fucking color in our sport.
My puke's about to be orange.
Oh, man. That was a good ending, I guess.
I'll call it there.
Call it there.
Thanks for watching this shit show. We'll see you next time.
Next time. Damn it. I gotta get an IV now. Oh, man.